Today I am going to talk about the Amsler grid, which is a tool to diagnose some pathology of macula, particularly macula, but the pathologies in the optic nerve and the optic pathway, visual pathway can also be traced with this Amsler grid. So what the Amsler grid was first used in 1945 and it was developed by a Swiss ophthalmologist Mark Amsler. It is a grid of horizontal and vertical lines and it is used basically to monitor a person's central visual field, but the scotomas and the peripheral field can also be monitored. So this is how the grid looks like. Uh, on a white background, there are black lines with a central dot. This dot actually helps to fixate. So it is a diagnostic tool and it is used to screen and monitor the visual disturbances which are caused by the changes in the retina, particularly the macula, but optic nerve and visual pathways defects can also be detected. So if we talk about the designing of the Amsler grid, it is basically a 10 centimeter square which is further divided into small 5 millimeter squares, and it is used to evaluate the 20 degrees of the visual field centered on the fixation. So here we can see an Amsler's grid superimposed on the macula, and we can see that the central dot probably does not coincide with the foveal anatomical center. The original grid was black and white, but a colored version with a blue and yellow grid is also used, and it is more sensitive and it is used to test a wide variety of the visual pathway abnormalities, including those associated with the retina, the optic nerve, and the pituitary gland also. So here we can see a grid on a yellow background and the blue grid. What is the technique? The technique is that pupils should not be dilated, and if the person is presbyopic, he should wear his or her correction at that time. The chart should be well illuminated, and the chart should be held at a reading distance which is 33 centimeters. Each eye is tested separately, so one eye should be covered, and the patient is asked to look at the central dot with the uncovered eye, and he had to keep looking at that dot, and he had to report any distortion and waviness of line, any blurred areas or blank spots. And if the patient we have to ask if the patient can see all the four corners and all the four sides of the squares, and we can provide a recording sheet and pen to draw the abnormalities. So there are different types of Amsler grid. I am going to describe them one by one. The first chart is a white grid on a black background, and the outer grid includes 400 smaller 5 millimeter squares, and when it is viewed at one third of a meter, that is 33 centimeter, each square subtends an angle of 1 degree with the eye, and it can identify various forms of the distortions. And relatives and absolute scotomas also. The second chart is similar to chart 1, but it has two diagonal lines, and if the patient is having central scotomas, these diagonal lines help the patient to fixate at the chart. The third chart is also identical to chart 1, but it has red squares, and this red color is particularly aimed to stimulate the long wavelength foveal cones, and these are used to detect the color scotomas and desaturation, particularly in toxic maculopathies, optic neuropathy, and the chiasmal lesions. The fourth chart consists of random dots, as there are no form or there are no shapes, so these are used to distinguish the scotomas from the metamorphopsias, because there is not any particular shape that can be distorted, and but it is not liable because the scotomas and the background appear the same in color, so we can miss the scotomas. The chart 5 consists of 20 evenly distributed horizontal lines. These are the white lines on the black background, and they detect the metamorphopsias along a specific meridian, and this is to evaluate the patient who find any difficulty in reading. The sixth chart also has horizontal lines, but these lines are black lines on a white background, and the central lines are closer to each other, and it is used for the detailed evaluation of metamorphopsia in a specific meridian. The chart 7 has a fine central grid, and the each square of this central grid subtends an angle of half degree. It is more sensitive and it is very useful in detection of the early macular disease. So this Amsler grid is very important in detecting acute and long-standing disease of the retina, choroid, optic nerve, anterior visual system, visual pathway, and the cortex. We can dispense this Amsler's grid chart to the patient for the self-assessment at home, and the patient can self-assess his or her vision by looking at this chart. So, how do we interpret the findings on an Amsler grid? We have to ask some questions, and according to the patient's answer, we have to proceed. So first of all, you have to ask your patient, can he or she see the central white dot? If your patient can see the central white dot, then the central scotoma is unlikely to be present. But if the patient says the central dot looks washed out or blurry, then we can suspect the relative central scotoma. This is how the relative central scotoma looks to your patient. If the patient is unable to see the central white dot, then an absolute central scotoma is present, and this type of defect can be arise from many retinal, choroidal, and optic nerve disorders, as well as this any lesion in the anterior visual pathway can also result in the central scotoma, absolute central scotoma. This is how the chart appears to a patient with absolute central scotoma. Then we have to ask about the all the four sides of the square and all the four corners of the square, the big square. The purpose of this question is to rule out arcuate, altitudinal, quadrantic or hemianopic field defects and the overall field constrictions. If the patient can see all the four sides and all the four corners, then we can proceed to the next question. If the patient the answer is no, then we have to ask the patient to document the missing corners, and we have to accurately draw them on the chart, or we have to tear them off with the help of a pencil. Then we have to ask about the small squares. Are these small squares blurry or missing on any part of the grid? The purpose is to rule out the relative or absolute paracentral, secocentral, and altitudinal scotomas. If the patient's answer is no, then we can proceed to the next question. But if the patient's answer is yes, then we have to double check it. We have to look for the distance the patient is holding the chart as a correct distance, and is there any media opacity that can cause the monocular diplopia, and these vertical or horizontal lines are appearing double to the patient, so we have to double check it. Then we have to ask about the horizontal and vertical lines that make up the square. We have to ask about are these lines straight or they are appearing wavy or bent. If the patient's answer is no, then we can proceed to the next question. But if the patient's answer is yes, we have to initially rule out the false positive responses that may occur if the patient is looking through the line of a multifocal segment he or she is wearing, or noticing the peripheral distortions of a progressive additional lens. So this is how a central metamorphopsia looks to the patient. The lines, both the horizontal and vertical lines, are appearing wavy or bent, and these lines are not appearing straight to the patient. So this was about the Amsler's grid, how it works and how we should interpret it. Please subscribe the channel and like this video and share this video. Thank you very much.